Alright, welcome to the internet, ladies, gentlemen, business tycoons, people of all shapes and sizes. This is an app, or a map, that shows you all of your contacts in HighLevel, and it actually shows them, obviously, on a map with their opportunities. So I'm just going to select a pipeline here. We can go leads and sales pipeline, and we can see this pipeline is basically all one opportunities. There's a couple open opportunities. They're colored by this. I mean, it's pretty sick, not going to lie. And yeah, you can filter around by the pipeline and the pipeline stage, and we have a little legend here kind of showing you what these different colors mean. So in this video, I'm going to explain how I built this app, and I'm going to explain the two ways that you can get this app for yourself. Namely, those two ways are, firstly, you can install my app, which I suggest because, look, I made it, I'm awesome, I'm extremely smart, caring, humble, just so many good things about me, you know, especially my humbleness. And the other way is to build it yourself, of course. So I'm going to show you those both two ways. So in order to get this app, I'll leave a link in the description below where you can get to this page, but you'll basically just go to my website and it will be listed right here. So it's not published yet, but if I go to the app catalog and select it, we can learn a little bit more about this app. We can see a lot of that stuff I just overviewed right here in a quick video. So you can, embed it on the sidebar in your agency or in your location. You can put it on a dashboard. You can filter, and yeah, there's a bunch of details here. And yeah, basically all you have to do to install it is you'll click Get Started, and then right here it will say Advanced Contact and Opportunity Map. So that will be one of the options. Right now it's not, but it will once this video is up. And then you can just hit, I want to install this on my agency if you want to have it for multiple locations or just your location for a single sub-account. Then you'll hit next and it will redirect you to that page, which will look like this, which is the map listing on the marketplace, and then you can just hit install and go from there. So that's really all there is to it, to the first plan or first way to install it. And what I'm going to do now is talk about how this installation actually works and how this entire app works. Honestly, it's not too complicated, but we are going to be looking at the code base, so if you're afraid of that kind of stuff, well, that sucks. Alright, anyways, I'm actually going to go to light mode here, just because I feel like that's a little bit more legible, and yeah, hopefully you're not getting blinded right now. I'm sorry if you're watching this while going to sleep. I don't know why you would watch me going to sleep. You should probably watch, I don't know, something more entertaining. But here's how this works. So what we're going to do is when we install this location, first of all, what we're doing is we're upserting the users that your company has. And let me back up really quick. In order to create this app, you're going to need to create a HighLevel marketplace app. And this is the dashboard, and you basically just create an app here. I have a video about doing this, but I'm not going to talk about it too much. But what we're doing here is we're inserting those users into my database, and then we're creating a contact for you. So once you install the app, I get your phone number, your name, and your email, and that allows me to reach out to you and say something along the lines of, thanks for installing the app. If you need any help, here's my phone number, book a call, shoot me an email, whatever. It's really a customer service thing. That is sort of unrelated to how this app works, though. Because the next thing that we do is backfill location data. Okay, so I'm going to show you what this looks like. So backfilling location data, basically what we do is we get the pipeline data from HighLevel. So we need to know what the pipelines are and what the stages are for each pipeline. So we make this request to this endpoint. We do opportunities, pipelines, location ID. And we use the access token that we get from the app installation, and we ask for a list of all the pipelines. So you can see this is what it looks like. We get a list of the pipelines, which this is an array, and then for each pipeline we have a list of stages. And if I close out of this, then what we do is we insert each pipeline, and for each pipeline we also insert those stages. And that's really all there is to this kind of step. And we also fetch the contact data, okay? So for each contact, we need to get basically all of their information, including their address, and then turn that into an address that we can use to show them on the map. So that's a little different. I'll show you how that works. But what we do is we have a system that basically just searches locations for contacts. So we get a list of contacts that look like this. So we get a bunch of data per contact. And this API should return us a list of those contacts that we can use. And then if we have some contacts, we're going to upsert those into the database. And then we're going to go on to our contact history task. And so on this, we have a few different kind of things here. We have getting the opportunities. So that's same as kind of getting the contacts, but it's for opportunities for each contact. And then we put those in the database. And then we geocode the contact address. And then all this stuff is for another app that I am kind of have on pause right now. But in this case, we're just doing the opportunities for that contact and then the address. And so here's how the address works. So we'll go into this task. And essentially what we're doing is we have our task here. And what we're putting in is that contact address. This is like your street address. We have a city, a state, a zip, and a country. Okay? And I just dragged that, broke it. So what this looks like is if we don't have... well, actually, let me go into this. So basically the way this works if we don't have an address and we don't have a city or a state, then we skip, okay? And they don't get geocoded. So we have to have, at minimum, an address and a city or an address and a state. Hopefully that makes sense. So if they don't have both of those, then we're not going to encode them. But once we decide, yes, we're good to encode that address, then what we do is we create kind of a encoded version of that address, and then we send that off to Mapbox, which is a company that does a lot of map stuff. Maybe you could tell by the name. And we give them our access token, and then our country and our address, okay? And then we get that address, and then we just return the longitude and latitude. And so let me show you in the docs okay, so yeah, so this is some nerd shit that I wrote down here. Basically, we would take an address like this, 123 Main Street, Washington, D.C., whatever, and we would get back a latitude and a longitude just like this. So it's two numbers, and this is what we actually use when we're displaying the data on our map, okay? So we have that, and then that just updates the contact in the database with the new encoded address, and that's basically all you need to do. So this is backfilling all of that data. So when you install the app, we have to bring in all of this data that's already there, and we need to be able to display it. So it takes a while actually loading in all of this data. And you could use probably something like N8N like this. In fact, you would need something kind of like N8N. In this case, I'm using trigger.dev. Basically, what you need is a task that's not going to time out after, a few minutes or a few seconds. You need something that can run for like 10, 30 minutes, because for a location with 1,000 contacts, this might take like 30 minutes for 1,000 contacts to go through all of them and get the data and geocode it. So once that's done, then we can come over to our map. So I have a map at this address on the page, and here's how it works. So this is React. This is a Next.js project with React, and we have a shit ton of state here. So these are all use state, which means that this is something that can be updated as we change the data on the page. And so here's what happens when the page first loads in. So what happens is we have an async function called fetchData, which this is the weird thing with React, is you can't actually declare a useEffect hook as async. You have to put an async function within useEffect and then run that. So, and actually, maybe we want to put wait there. No, you don't. All right. So, anyways, we have a variable here called loading. So we're going to set loading to true at the start of this page loading. And I can actually show you what this looks like. So if we do Vercel dev, and that's going to spin up our local instance here. And let me come back to this page, and we're going to go to localhost so I can show you kind of what this looks like. So It's not going to be HTTPS. It's going to be HTTP and then localhost 3000. And what you'll see here is it's compiling, and then you'll see that loading state right there. So that loading state is controlled by this set loading true. So if you see down on our page, we have basically an if statement, if loading, then return just shimmer. And this shimmer component is something I'm extremely proud of. So I can show you kind of what this looks like. If we do await new promise for, let's go like 5 seconds, then we can extend this loading state, and if I refresh it, you'll see this nice shimmer here, this nice line running across. I'm very proud of this suspense. So anyways, I'm going to get rid of that. But that's what the loading does. And then what we do is we get our data. And so we do an await promise all, because we're calling 3 separate functions that run on the server to get our data and pull it onto the front end. And we do promise.all to speed this up. So I'm going to show you this. For contact server, basically what we're doing is we're fetching all the data that we need. So we're getting that contact's coordinates, the name, the phone number, email, address. This is all so that it can be shown on the dashboard. And you don't want to fetch too much data here because it could use up a lot of the person's RAM and just slow down loading the page. And then we also fetch all of the opportunities that are associated with that contact. And then we kind of put them together and coalesce it so that it looks right. And then we also have our pipelines. So we're fetching those pipelines that we stored earlier, and then also these stages. Okay, so if I come back to this page, you'll see pipeline server and stages server all running. And then we're setting our contacts, pipelines, and stages to this data. So, and it's part of the array. So 0, 1, 2. And you can see we have pipelines, stages, and contacts right here. These are all the data that we're pulling in. So this will update as soon as the data finishes loading. And then we have our filtered contacts list. So by default, filtered contacts is just going to be all contacts, right? But eventually we're going to filter this down based on the filters that we select. So then once loading is set to false, then it's going to return our entire page. So we have our map, and this is a component. I'll show you this. And then we have our selects for our filters, and then we have the legend. And the legend's just right here. It's just a super basic collapsible, so you can see this right here. Move this out of the way. You can just expand and collapse this, because when you're looking at this, so when you're looking at this on your dashboard in your CRM, this legend was really huge, so I just kind of made it collapsible so that it would be smaller. But that's basically the legend. And then in terms of our selects, let's go back here. You can see we have this select here. So what's going to happen is all of these opportunities have an ID, all of the pipelines have an ID, and all of the stages have an ID. And actually, each pipeline, if I come back to our types here, so we can do contact opportunity map, and for the opportunity, they have a pipeline ID and a stage ID right here. So these correlate to the pipeline and stage that they're in. And so if we were to select a pipeline, what it would do is it would filter our contacts where that contact has at least one opportunity where the pipeline ID is equal to the selected pipeline ID, right? And so that basically sets the filters, and then it changes every time we select the selected pipeline and the selected stage. And it also does the same thing whenever the stage changes, okay? The same function runs, and this updates our filtered contacts, which is what's actually displayed on the map. And then after this is done, then, you know, obviously up here we just set loading false. I don't know why I said that again. But then we come onto the map section, and this is a little bit more magic here. So what we have is, dude, I got Claude to write this. It took quite a few tries, but basically what I wanted is, if we come back to this tab, whenever you reload the page, when a fresh load comes, it shows the densest point of contacts. The interesting thing is, if you zoom out, there's contacts over here. So it doesn't actually, like, the problem was with my default kind of setup was it would include all of the points on the map. But as we can see here, this is kind of how it looked when you would first load in, because there's someone over here and there's someone in India. But what you really want is, I mean, there's 1,000 contacts in this one tiny area, and so we just wanted to focus on that area. So what we have is a padding multiplier, grid size, and points. I don't actually know what that means, but basically we have a function that calculates all of the bounds to give us the right zoom level when you first load into the map. And then once we do that, then we mount the map, and this is using our Mapbox map, and we have to use our API key through Mapbox to actually get the map to display. And then for each contact, basically, we map through our contacts and we display a marker component, which is a Mapbox component. And this has our key is the contact ID. We give the longitude and the latitude. This is how we actually get it to show up on the map. This is what we encoded earlier. And then when the mouse leaves, or when the mouse enters, we set our hovered contact to this contact and show a pop-up. And then when the mouse leaves, then we set that to null. And so let me just show you. So this is that card that we've been seeing, and when you hover over this, you can actually see that data of that contact. And so here's what it looks like. So we'll go into the hover pop-up, and we're passing in our contact, and then the stages and the pipelines, because we need to be able to show that pipeline and stage data. So here's how it works. Basically, we're showing the contact name, so their full name, and then we're also showing the email and the phone number, just in case you need to switch back between contact, this map and your CRM. You can easily just search them up, or kind of know the email. And then we show how many opportunities there are. So up at the top right, you can see that you can see this little 2 here. This means there's 2 opportunities. And then and then we show the email, phone number. And then we show the opportunities. So for each opportunity attached to this contact, we're going to show that. So we're going to show the opportunity name, or the stage name. So you can see that bold text right here. This is the stage name, and we're basically looking at the list of stages that we have, and we're finding the stage where the stage ID matches the opportunity stage ID, and then showing that stage name. I don't know, that was kind of a mouthful. Then we also show the opportunity value right here and the status, and then also the opportunity or the pipeline name down below. And the color for the status comes from the status itself. So 1 lost open, and then and then we show the address just down here, so you can kind of get a feel for which addresses are showing up and kind of what it's able to actually encode. So you can see for this one, it was literally an apartment number. It looks like a house number 329A Vival Ave, Nashville. No zip code, no country, but it worked. So no state, but yeah, it worked anyway. So you can kind of see it. It's able to encode kind of vague addresses like this. But that is showing the data. Dude, holy shit, this is actually a lot to talk about. But finally, we have the problem of keeping the data up to date, because what we did at the beginning is we filled in all that data that was already in the CRM, but what we need to do is we need to handle changes where if you move a pipeline, an opportunity down the pipeline, or update that contact's address, we need to change that stuff and have it reflect in the database or on this map. And so I'm going to talk about this. So essentially what we have is webhooks turned on for this app. And what you'll see is we have, it's the wrong app. So, all right, hang on. Okay, so in your app, under Advanced Settings and Webhooks, what we have turned on is we have Contact Create, Delete, Update, and then we also have Location Update, and then this. So Opportunity Create, Opportunity Delete, Update, Status, Assign to, Monetary Value, and Stage Update. So we have all these different opportunity and contact update events that are going to come to our app. And these come into my endpoint here, and you can see this is our event handler for this map. So we have contact create, update, delete, opportunity create, delete, and then all the update events right here. And so let me just show you how this works. So whenever we have a contact created, what we do is we get the address data, and what we do is we just try to encode this right away. We just send in the address, the city, the state, but if I hover over this, it should say this is string or undefined. So we can pass in, this string, which could be undefined or null, and it'll be fine. So basically, it's going to do that check we talked about earlier, where if we don't have the address and a city or the address and a state, then it's just going to skip it. So we try to geocode the address, and then we just add it to the database. And then we have our update for a contact. And so this is a little bit more complicated because what we're doing is we're getting that contact data. And then we have a update object. And this is because we don't know at this point whether or not we're going to re-encode the address data, right? So what we're doing is we're getting the current address data from the database. So we're pulling it out and we're getting an object. So we have an object like this. So address, city, state, zip, country. And then we're going to compare this database address data to the new address data from that contact. And we're going to see if they're the same or different. So if they're different, we're going to re-encode that address because obviously the address has changed. But if it's the same, we're not going to do anything. We're just going to skip it. And this saves a lot of cost because if every time you added a tag or something to a contact, it just like re-encoded the entire address, it would quickly start to cost a lot of money through Mapbox. So we just check if the address has actually changed. Kind of genius, right? And then basically all we do is we if the address changed, then we encode it, and then we update that contact in the database. And then finally, for contact delete, we delete the contact. Pretty crazy, I know, revolutionary stuff here. But that's not it, because we also have the opportunity update. So for opportunity create, what we do is, and we have this this function up there, which we're using. What we do is we call this function called upsert pipeline. And what this does is this gets all of the pipelines for your location. It filters it down to the pipeline that we're looking for. And then it upserts that pipeline with the new stages. Okay, so we upsert those new stages. And that's because there's no webhook that will directly tell you, like, it's not going to tell my app, hey, they just created a new pipeline and they added these stages. You have to figure that out, right? So we have to kind of work around this. So what we're doing instead is whenever an opportunity is added, we're upserting all of the pipelines from your location just to make sure that we don't have any problems when we try to upsert this contact. Because if we got, or this opportunity, because if we upsert an opportunity referencing in our database, referencing out to a pipeline that doesn't exist, it's going to throw an error. So we can't do that. So we have to upsert the pipeline and then we insert that opportunity. And this is what that looks like. Basically, we get the opportunity data from HighLevel and then we just put that in the database. Okay. And then for opportunity update, what we do is we check if the stage changed. So this is similar to checking if the address changed because we're pulling out the previous stage ID and then we're assigning this Boolean, which is stage changed, true or false. So if the database stage ID is different from the new stage ID, then stage changed is true. But if it's the same, then stage changed is false. And so if stage changed is true, then we're going to have to re-upsert the pipeline just to make sure that that we have this current stage there, okay? And then, sorry, my brain just stopped working. It's a super long video. Then we upsert the opportunity. Okay, this is where it gets kind of complicated. This was like kind of a pain in the ass to put together. So we put in that opportunity that we just got, and then what we do, if the stage changed, we try to delete the old stage in our database. Not in HighLevel, but in our database. Because we don't know if that contact moved out of that stage because that stage was deleted, or if they were just moving. And so we try to delete it, And basically, if there's any contacts or any opportunities that are still in that stage, we can't delete it because we have rules in the database that say you can't delete this row if it's referenced by other rows. So we'll not be able to delete it, but we try to upsert all the new pipelines, and so we delete that stage and then we upsert the new pipelines, because if we delete a stage and then upsert a new pipeline, then if that stage is actually gone, it won't be replaced. But if it's not gone, then it will be just removed entirely from the database, and we won't have to show it in the map anymore. Because when you're filtering, you don't want to have a bunch of stages that you had and forgot about and deleted. You just want to see stages that are actually there right now. And then we have opportunity delete. So whenever an opportunity is deleted, we just delete that opportunity, and then we try to delete the stage. And so if we can't delete the stage, we're done, because that stage is still there. The opportunity just got deleted. But if we succeed in deleting the stage, then we actually try to delete the pipeline. So we attempt to delete the pipeline, and if that fails, then we know there are still opportunities in that pipeline. But if that doesn't fail, then we know that pipeline was actually deleted, and we just try to re-upsert all the new ones, just to make sure that that pipeline is actually deleted and wasn't just emptied. So again, this doesn't actually delete from your location. In fact, this app has no permissions to make changes to your HighLevel account. But what it does do is try to make it better on the map so that you're not displaying a bunch of stages and pipelines that were deleted. Wow. That was a lot. But yeah, that's basically all there is to it. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and hopefully, I mean, at least for my sake, you're not about to go out and do this all yourself. You're just gonna install my app. My app is a great deal. Trust me. But yeah, anyways, appreciate you watching all the way this far into the video. That is honestly commendable. And yeah, click the link below. Just learn more about it, and you can try it out. There's a 7-day free trial. You can see if you like it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.